Hi guys, it's your girl here, AdaB, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk.
'Cause I'm living my life like I know I should.
Hi guys, so before I get into this video, please make sure that you hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and check out the links in the description box below after this video. So if you can't already tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about interracial relationships. And I want to talk about it because it's come up again on the timeline. I don't know if you guys are aware of Twitter Spaces. It's essentially Clubhouse on Twitter. And these spaces, of course, because Twitter is an international social media platform, just like many of the others, it means that there are spaces running at all times of the day around the world. And sometimes people from around the world end up joining the same spaces. And I've done it on a few occasions and it's very interesting. One of the topics that never leaves the timeline, no matter how much people beg for it, is relationships / interracial dating. Oh, child, it's an ongoing topic. It just keeps on coming up. People are obsessed with talking about relationships. I don't know why, but it's always very interesting. I like to sit down and listen to people talk and understand what it is about relationships, specifically interracial dating, as I'll be talking about today, that ticks them off so much, or that they propaganda so much. Why are they so for it, or why are they so against it? I'm so curious to know, because my stance is love who you love. I do not care. What is who you lay down in bed with at night got to do with me? But yeah, going into like my first point, the obvious, I would say, initial conflict or barrier is the race. People look at someone and they see, oh, you don't look like me, so we must have nothing in common. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. First and foremost, you can't choose how you're born. You can't choose whether you're born a man or a woman, and you can't choose whether you're born black or white. These are not things you can choose. That sometimes means that we have common interests and even similar personality traits. And this can bond us more than the fact that we are the same race. Think of siblings. Two siblings, same mum, same dad, can even be very close in age. Completely different experience of their parents, completely different perception of the world, completely different personalities. Doesn't mean you love your sibling any less, but actually you come to realize we don't have that much in common. What keeps us together is the fact that we have commonalities. So we have the same parents, we are related, we've kind of had similar experiences because our siblings will have probably gone to the same places and done similar things together. But if you're a random person, what would make me be your friend more than the next person who didn't look like you or me? Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes people get so fazed by the fact that we don't have the same skin color that they forget that actually you're just interacting with another human being, and actually this human being might actually be more well suited for you than someone who is of the same background as you, the same race as you. So race is definitely the ding, 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 the initial, I'd say, barrier or conflict when it comes to interracial dating. Culture is another big one. Obviously, being a different race can sometimes mean that you have different cultures. Now, on my radio show, I discussed this because there was a conversation that came up on a British television show a couple of weeks back, and there seemed to be a misunderstanding of race, ethnicity, and nationality. You can be of the same race as someone, of the same even ethnicity, but have different nationalities. And that can completely change your perception of your identity or your culture, your morals, your values. You may even have the same nationality as someone, but because you have a different ethnicity, that can mean that you have a different experience of where you were born, your nationality. So I'm not going to get into politics of that, but again, there are layers and levels to this stuff. So culture can be a bit of a complicated one, and there's many things, as I've just kind of broken down there, in terms of race, nationality, and ethnicity that can play a factor into that. But there is also, again, how that affects you as a person. So what has those experiences formed for you in terms of your boundaries, your values, your morals, your principles, the way that you live your life, your perception on gender roles, your perceptions on certain human rights, women's rights, politics, etc., etc. These are things that can be, from what I've heard and seen, a real bone of contention for interracial couples. And I definitely think things that should be talked about from the beginning, not when things have already kind of progressed into marriage or there's children involved, which a lot of times people do. When they've already entered large commitments, then they realize we actually don't have any of these things aligned or in common. We don't want the same things. So why are we together again? Gender roles specifically in that as well can also be its own separate issue within that, because for some cultures, gender roles are very important. For me, not so much. I've grown up in a household where my dad did equal, if not more, of the housework than my mum. He was obsessed with cleaning and he loves to cook. So for him, it was a no-brainer. It wasn't a thing of because my mum is a woman or because I'm a girl, I'm expected to clean and cook. My brother was expected to do the same chores as me. And that was that, really. Sometimes my dad did the food shop, sometimes my mum did. Sometimes my dad did the school run, sometimes my mum did. It just depended on who was free when and what made sense for that day, that week, or whatever. And that was it. So for me, gender roles is not a big thing. But for some people that I've spoken to, it's a very important thing. The man has to be the breadwinner and the woman has to be the submissive wife/mother. I will talk about that another day. That's why I said gender roles can actually be its own thing altogether. Moving on from culture, another one that could even be kind of brushed under culture, but we will just give it its own title, religion. Religion can be a very big one because some people are very much committed to their faith. And so you really just have to be of the same faith for it to work. It's not going to work if you're not of the same faith. So yeah, you can be a different race, you can have a different culture, but do you have the same religious belief as me? Yes, we can work. Some people are like, are you at least open to the idea? We can work. Some people are like, that's fine. You be a Christian, I'll be a Muslim. As long as we love each other, we can make the relationship work. We can decide on what to do with the kids when they're here. And that works for them. Some people I'm like, well, I don't believe in anything, so whatever goes for me. If you want to believe in God, fine. If you don't, fine. And that works for them. But again, a conversation that should be happening in the early stages, not something that should be happening once kids are here or when you've signed a lease together or when you're getting married. Find out how your faith or your beliefs or your practices may impact the person that you're going to be with. And again, this can be different because depending on where someone's from, how they've been brought up, they might be very passionate or strong about their religious beliefs. Some people may be a bit more fluid because they've come away from religion entirely and they're just trying to form their own understanding of God or trying to have their own sort of spiritual journey. So again, you can make it work within your situation. So that's another thing that I've found that comes up a lot when it comes to interracial dating, religion. People tend to kind of almost skip that one until it's a bit too late and then they're like, oh, actually I do have an issue with this. What kind of ties all of these things together? Family. Family can actually be your ops sometimes. And that's a weird one because I think a lot of us hold family very dear. But sometimes your family can actually be your downfall. I listened to the Receipts podcast, and on one of the episodes called Your Receipts, a lady wrote in about how she's essentially had to distance herself from her family and couldn't even invite them to her wedding day because of the fact that they did not support her interracial relationship. Now, one of her aunties who she assumed was like a second mother to her, was very close to her, and always seemed so supportive of this relationship, she entrusted to help her organize her wedding. But what this auntie did was definitely play this young woman and ruined her wedding day. From the DJ to insulting her makeup and hair, insulting her groom continuously, refusing to help out, and just there being a general lack of organization in the whole wedding as a whole. Because actually, she was just there to do the family's dirty work. And she used the close relationship she had with her niece to do that. Evil.
Same person doing all of these comments.
Yeah. She made racist comments towards my husband, who isn't from the same background as me, on the day for the first time ever mid-wedding photo shoot.
I haven't even given you the full story. I've just given you the highlights. But if you listen to that episode of Your Receipts. I think, I can't remember which one it is. I might link it here somewhere for you guys to go and listen to after. I was so sad. I was so sad. But this is the experience of a lot of people dating interracially. You need to nip these things in the bud before you walk down the aisle, before you make lifelong commitments. You need to nip it in the bud. If your family are being a big hindrance, you and your partner need to make a collective decision. Are you going to decide to be together and stand against what's being brought upon you? Or are you going to just go your separate ways? It's a decision she has to make now. Is she going to walk away from her family entirely to be with her husband? Or is she just going to give up her new marriage and just get with someone that the family will love so she doesn't have to lose everything at once? It's a tough one, but family can really be your ops. They really can be the biggest cause of contention, the biggest cause of conflict when it comes to interracial dating. Now, specifically speaking about parents, they don't always mean bad for you. Sometimes I do think parents come from a place of just lack of understanding of where we are in the world today. We're a new world, it's a new generation of people. People are dating interracially a lot more, especially as you get younger. You see people dating from all over, and it's just a very normal thing. However, our parents come from a different time, a different generation, and sometimes they see it as like, why would you go and date someone that culturally, historically does not like you, does not understand you, and that can actually cause problems for us later down the line. We don't want to have to see you hurt. We don't have to see you go through this. So I can understand that sometimes families, parents specifically, are just worried for you. They just don't want you to be hurt. There are some parents that are just foul. There are some parents that are just very selfish and they just want their trauma to be your trauma. They just want to project continuously. They don't want to do the work to heal. They don't want to do the work to forgive. They don't want to do the work to understand and take accountability for why their relationships haven't worked. And they're just projecting all of that negative energy onto you and trying to fear you out of something that might actually be really good for you. So it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one with family because you love your family. Whether they're really good to you or they're not, everybody wants to belong. And when you can have a relationship with your family, most people will choose that over their newfound love or relationship. For me, if God says this person is good for you and my family are all like, no, we don't like it, bye. I'll leave my family. I don't mind. Because anyways, it is biblical that when a man and woman get together, they're to become one. And they leave the family home. So that's fine. They'll come around eventually. Definitely when the grandbabies are here, they'll come around. But until then, I'm not going to delay or hinder my own happiness, my own future, based on how they feel about a person that they don't really know, like the way I'm getting to know this person. So it is what it is. But sometimes they are right. Sometimes, that, especially mothers, they have that intuition. They can tell when someone is just there to play you, to use you, when someone's not really good for you. So, and maybe that's also because of their own experiences that they're able to detect that so early on. So sometimes it is good to listen, but I always say listen from a distance. I hear you, but give me room to kind of figure this out also. Give me room to pray on this. Be discernful, you know what I mean? But yeah, that isn't a reason to say that because of those things, it's better to date within your race. Absolutely not. Because somebody within your race can actually be a lot more horrible to you because they know the culture, the religion or other things that can come into play that they can use to manipulate the situation. And we've seen it many times. Some of our aunties are in some of these very situations right now. They're in bondage. We're in these lifeless, dead marriages. But because the wider family, the family and the wider family are applying so much pressure, and the man knows it, but he knows she ain't going anywhere. So he can play upon all of these things, knowing that she's not going anywhere. I have an auntie that's actually going through this right now. Beautiful woman, 4 kids, with a man who's done nothing but drive her up the wall. And it's so sad to see. And it's because, again, parents, the wider family, are all putting their 2 pence in. In-laws to her own parents, her siblings, everyone pressuring her. You are a young mum. You've just been married. We understand marriages go through ups and downs, etc., etc. But she already knew, I am not happy and I'm never going to be happy in this relationship because this man, just because we're from the same country, we have similar backgrounds, etc., etc., means nothing because our personalities do not get on. Maybe physically, great looking couple, but other than that, it doesn't work. They're not the same. They don't have the same life goals. Nothing works. And that's why the relationship has continued year after year to just wear her down. Only now are her parents actually like, okay, we can see now this man has just, you're nothing of the woman that we left when you went to marry this man. So, okay, but why? Why wait until she gets to this point? So family sometimes, I know sometimes they don't mean bad, but sometimes they do, because they are racist or because they have views or ideas about what a marriage should look like, especially when you're talking about culture and religion, and they want to see you continue that tradition. So yeah, for me, interracial relationships is only tricky because of all the external factors. If we boil it down to two people, two human beings connecting, it's not that different from two people in the same race being together. But race, culture, religion, and the family, among other things, of course, make it a whole spectacle, a whole thing. And it's really annoying. If I happen to be someone black, great. If I don't, great. It doesn't matter to me. And if you do, good for you. If you don't, good for you. Are you happy? Yes? Okay, then we're good. And that's that on that. There are plenty of black relationships that work and that are healthy and that are happy and they're thriving. And I love that for them just as much as I love an interracial relationship. I just don't care personally. Anyways, Sham, that concludes this video on Let's Talk and interracial relationships. I hope my points have made sense. I hope you kind of guys understand where I'm coming from and why I brought this conversation. I just want us to all be a bit conscious of things deeper than what's on the surface, and let's come away and challenge and come away from things that don't make sense and that just are stupid, if we're being honest, like some of the things I've mentioned here today. And let's just have minds of our own. Let's just all try and do a bit better. and let's just think a bit more. Let's just retrospect, reflect, get some healing if you need to, get some therapy, counseling. Let's pray, stay connected to God, meditate, all of that stuff. Like, let's just take time and look after ourselves so we can be better people for ourselves and for everyone around us. But yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do not forget to thumbs up and subscribe. Do also check out the links in the description box below so you can find out everything that TalksWithAdaB has to offer. We do a lot, so do tap into that. And yeah, until next time, guys. Bye.